Hello, and welcome to Cocktails with a Twist of History, your digital destination for all things cocktails. One of the fans asked about which bottles to buy for a home bar. A complicated question for sure. It depends on your preferred base alcohol and the type of cocktails you drink. This is not really my typical topic for my show, but I was wondering if some of the basic liquors are some of the older names that we use for the classic cocktails, meaning are the liquors that are used in the oldest common cocktails some of the mixers that we use in a basic bar. This brings us back to the bottles we have for our home bar. One way to start is to find some cocktails that you like and buy the ingredients. If you like gin or tequila cocktails versus whiskey cocktails, that might change what you buy. But there are some that work in a large number of standard cocktails. Most of these cocktails will need some kind of orange liqueur, like triple sec or Cointreau. Triple sec originated in France in the 1830s with an old brand called Combière in 1834, and Cointreau later in 1875. It gained traction with the popular cocktail ingredients in the late 1800s, becoming a staple in the classics like the sidecar and later on in the margarita. It is called the triple sec because it's triple dry orange liqueur, which uses bitter and sweet orange peels. Dry vermouth also began around the 1800s, and it started to gain popularity with a significant usage in the 1880s and the early 1900s. Martini and Rossi and Noli Pratt are some of the early ones. The story we told on a show about the martini was about the vermouth and how it was brought to the United States by the early Italian immigrants. Maraschino Liquor is something you've heard a lot on this show, and it had its beginnings also in the 1800s. It began as a staple in the improved cocktails, punches, and crustas. By the 1850s and 1860s, it was very common. While the cherry liqueur was produced by Luxardo as early as 1821, it grew in popularity in the U.S., and by the Civil War, it was a very popular liqueur. It was featured prominently in the early classics like the Martinez. Okay, I have been talking way too long without a cocktail in my hand. A cocktail that uses a lot of these is the Rob Roy. Now, when I make one, it does actually have triple sec and maraschino. A lot of the older recipes do not. Okay, we are going to use Scotch, and it is a stirred cocktail, so we are going to use our stirring glass. We are going to put in a full 2 ounces of our Scotch. Now, a lot of times people will use a mixed blended Scotch in this cocktail. I am going to actually be using a real single malt and an aged one at that, which is really nice. Okay, we are going to need some dry vermouth. Actually, no, we're going to use sweet vermouth in this one. And we are going to use some triple sec. Here I'm actually going to use Cointreau. And we are going to use a 1/4 ounce of Cointreau. There we go. Now we are going to need some Luxardo Maraschino Liquor, which is that subtle cherry liqueur that we've used before. Here we go. It's a small amount also of that. And now we need our Angostura Bitters. 3 dashes of Angostura Bitters. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. That first one did not come out for some reason. Now, the one thing that everyone seems to agree on is that for a garnish, you need cherries. And it always has to be an odd number of cherries. The same like with the martini, has to have an odd number of olives. We are going to put our ice into our stirring glass, and we are going to stir. There we go. Does not need a lot of stirring, but there we go. We want to make sure that it's well chilled. There we go. We got our strainer. We are going to be using a Nick Nora type glass. And look at that. It is a beautiful cocktail. And we said that we're going to need the cherries, which are right here. And here are our cocktail cherries. And here we go. Let's try. Ooh, that is a really good cocktail. It has the Scotch and the vermouth that do come forward. The cherry, oh, really good. A delicious cocktail. Now, there's also a dry Rob Roy, which uses dry vermouth instead of sweet vermouth. There is something called a perfect Rob Roy. Perfect in a cocktail means equal parts sweet and dry vermouth. I've never really seen the point of that. Here we're just using the sweet one. The Rob Roy cocktail itself was created in the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York City in 1894. There doesn't seem to be a lot of other versions of this story. Surprise, surprise. The bartender was Charles McPherson, a Scotchman who knew a lot about a Scottish version of Robin Hood. The Rob Roy was named after this guy named Rob Roy McGregor, a folk hero from the 1700s. McPherson created a cocktail similar to the Manhattan, but he used Scotch because a true Scotchman drinks Scotch. If you know more pieces of the history, we want to know it. You can put it in the comments. You can send it to us by email, or you can tell it to the bottle. We want to know. Also, please make sure to like, to follow, to subscribe, and to send a link of this show to other people so that they can enjoy cocktails with a twist of history. Thank you.